Maps have always been powerful tools, shaping how we see the world, our place in it, and the future we aspire to create. But what happens when a map does more than mark borders, when it becomes a symbol of hidden intentions, possible territorial ambitions, and global controversy? Recently, the appearance of the Greater Israel map on uniforms has stirred significant attention and sparked heated debate. But what does it really mean? Is it a political statement, a religious assertion, or something deeper? In this exploration, we will dive into the complex story behind the Greater Israel map, its historical roots, and what its appearance might signal about the future. To understand the significance of the Greater Israel map, we first need to step back in time. The concept of Greater Israel is deeply rooted in both biblical tradition and political ideology. Its origins trace back to the Hebrew Bible, specifically to the promises made by God to the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, promising their descendants a vast land stretching from the Nile to the Euphrates. This promised land has served as a central element of Jewish faith and cultural identity for millennia. However, the biblical vision of Greater Israel, as described in religious texts, has not always been consistent. Throughout different periods of Jewish history, the interpretation of the Promised Land's borders has shifted. Some see it as an idealized notion of divine blessing, while others interpret it as a geopolitical aspiration. In modern times, the idea of Greater Israel has taken on a more political dimension, especially in relation to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 and the territorial complexities that have followed. The founding of the modern state revived discussions about Greater Israel, particularly after the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel gained control of territories such as the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and the Golan Heights. For some political and religious factions, these conquests were seen as the partial fulfillment of the ancient biblical promise. But this concept remains deeply contentious, both within Israel and across the Middle East, as its interpretation affects both national identity and territorial integrity. In religious and political discourse, Greater Israel symbolizes more than just land. It is a complex and often polarizing idea that touches on theology, politics, and the quest for national security. Its interpretation varies significantly depending on one's religious or political stance. Some see it as a divine promise yet to be fully realized, while others view it as a dangerous expansionist vision. Recently, the appearance of the Greater Israel map on military and governmental uniforms has drawn widespread attention and sparked controversy. The sight of this symbol emblazoned on clothing meant for public servants and soldiers has raised many questions. What is the intention behind displaying this map? Is it a political message or simply a reflection of cultural identity? The Greater Israel map, as depicted on these uniforms, shows an expanded version of Israel's borders, which extends beyond the internationally recognized boundaries. This design includes parts of neighboring territories, suggesting a broader territorial claim. For many, this symbol is alarming, as it seems to project an intention of territorial expansion, raising fears about regional stability. One of the primary concerns is that this map represents more than just symbolic pride. It could be a reflection of long-term geopolitical ambitions. Given the highly sensitive nature of borders and land in the Middle East, even the suggestion of changing boundaries can trigger political anxiety. To some, the map may signify a future where Israel seeks to solidify control over territories that are currently in dispute, further complicating the peace process and regional relations. It is crucial to take into account any conceivable motivations for using this map in order to completely understand its significance. This is a multifaceted topic with political, religious, and nationalistic roots, all of which add to the current discourse. At the heart of many speculations is the idea that the Greater Israel map reflects a political ambition. In this context, the map can be interpreted as a visual representation of the desire for expanded borders. Over the years, there have been political factions within Israel that advocate for greater territorial control, particularly over areas like the West Bank, which they view as integral to the security and future of Israel. For some, The appearance of the map on uniforms is a signal of these ambitions, indicating a long-term strategy to assert control over disputed regions. This interpretation suggests that the map is not just a symbol, but a precursor to more tangible political moves aimed at territorial expansion. Such a strategy could have profound consequences for Israel's relations with its neighbors and the broader international community, especially considering the already delicate peace negotiations with Palestinian authorities. Beyond politics, the map also carries significant religious implications. In Jewish tradition, the Promised Land holds deep theological meaning, and for many, the concept of Greater Israel is seen as part of a divine plan. Some religious groups view the expansion of Israel's borders as a necessary step toward the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, believing that the return to these lands is divinely ordained. This belief fuels a sense of religious duty to reclaim and settle these territories, a sentiment that resonates strongly with certain segments of Israeli society. The use of the Greater Israel map on uniforms, therefore, could be seen as an expression of religious commitment to this ideal. It symbolizes a broader, more spiritual agenda that transcends political borders and enters the realm of faith. Finally, the Greater Israel map speaks to the concept of national identity. In a region where borders are often contested and national identity is tightly bound to territorial claims, the appearance of this map on uniforms might be a bold assertion of Israel's right to exist and thrive within these expanded borders. For some, this map is a statement of cultural pride, representing not only the historical land of Israel, but also the resilience and survival of the Jewish people in the face of centuries of persecution and exile. This makes the map a symbol of national cohesion and a point of convergence between the present state of Israel and its biblically based historical past. It serves as a reminder of both the protracted fight for statehood and the continuous difficulties in preserving security in a volatile area. The appearance of the Greater Israel map on uniforms has not gone unnoticed by the international community. Reactions have been varied, with some viewing it as a legitimate expression of cultural identity, while others see it as a provocative move with potentially destabilizing consequences. Governments and international organizations have reacted with caution, recognizing the sensitivity of the issue. For many of Israel's neighboring countries, the use of this map is seen as a threat, suggesting potential territorial claims that could disrupt already fragile peace agreements. Countries like Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria have expressed concern over the map's implications, fearing that it may signal future Israeli expansionism. Meanwhile, global powers such as the United States and European nations have taken a more measured approach. While these nations are generally supportive of Israel's right to self-defense and sovereignty, they are also invested in maintaining regional stability and avoiding actions that could exacerbate tensions. The map's appearance on uniforms has prompted diplomatic discussions, with calls for clarity on Israel's intentions and reassurances that this symbol does not represent a shift in official policy. Public opinion on the issue is similarly divided. Within Israel, some view the map with pride, seeing it as a rightful claim to land that holds deep historical and religious significance. Others, however, are concerned that the use of such symbols could inflame regional tensions and undermine efforts to achieve a lasting peace. Outside of Israel, the map has sparked debates over the ethics of displaying potentially expansionist symbols. Critics argue that it risks being perceived as a sign of aggression, while supporters maintain that it is simply an expression of national and religious identity. Media outlets around the world have covered the story in different ways, reflecting the complex nature of the issue. Some have framed the map's appearance as a minor cultural statement, while others have emphasized its potential political and geopolitical ramifications. This divergence in coverage highlights the broader media narrative surrounding Israel and its role in the Middle East, a narrative that is often fraught with competing interpretations and agendas. The Greater Israel map's application to uniforms might have a big impact on the peace and stability of the region. Even symbolic actions can have significant repercussions given how sensitive Middle Eastern geopolitics already is. One of the primary concerns is that the map could exacerbate existing tensions between Israel and its neighbors. In a region where borders are hotly contested, the suggestion of expanded territorial claims, even if symbolic, could provoke reactions from neighboring countries. This is particularly true for areas like the West Bank, which remains a flashpoint for Israeli-Palestinian relations. The fear is that the map's appearance on uniforms could be interpreted as a signal of intent, suggesting that Israel is preparing to assert control over disputed lands. This could lead to renewed conflicts, both with neighboring states and within Israel itself, as various factions react to the implications of such a move. Additionally, the map might have a big effect on Israel's diplomatic ties with other regional and international countries. Nations that have traditionally backed Israel would find themselves in a challenging situation where they have to strike a compromise between their ties and the requirement to preserve regional stability. Meanwhile, Israel's relationships with its Arab neighbors could be further strained. Peace agreements that have been painstakingly negotiated over the years could be jeopardized if the map is seen as evidence of expansionist ambitions. At the core of the debate surrounding the Greater Israel map is the question of what lies beneath the surface. Is the map simply a symbol of cultural pride, or does it represent a more strategic, long-term agenda? Some analysts believe that the map is part of a broader geopolitical strategy. By displaying the Greater Israel map on uniforms, Israel could be signaling its intention to solidify control over certain territories, particularly in the West Bank. This would align with the views of certain political factions that advocate for the annexation of these areas, believing that they are critical to Israel's security and future. Alternatively, the map can have less to do with tactical preparation and more to do with cultural symbolism. In the midst of persistent difficulties, it might be an opportunity for Israel to affirm its historical ties to the region and strengthen its sense of national identity. In this sense, the map serves as a reminder of the strong religious and historical links that unite the Jewish people with the land of Israel, rather than necessarily serving as a model for future growth. Regardless of its intended meaning, the map's appearance has global implications. It raises questions about the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the stability of the Middle East, and the role of international diplomacy in managing these complex issues. The map's presence on uniforms may be a small gesture, but it has the potential to influence global perceptions of Israel's intentions and its place in the world. The appearance of the Greater Israel map on uniforms has sparked a wide-ranging debate about its meaning and implications. Is it a symbol of cultural pride, a political statement, or a strategic move? The answer likely depends on one's perspective. What is clear, however, is that this map carries deep historical, religious, and political significance. Its presence on uniforms is more than just a design choice. It is a reflection of the complex, multifaceted nature of Israel's identity and its place in the world. The issue still stands as we look to the future. Will this map lead to further war, or will it act as a reminder of the necessity of communication and understanding in an area that has experienced far too much division? Time will tell.